MSNBC legal analyst, Danny Cevallos. So, Danny, let me start first with what we learned yesterday from this accidental redaction issue. Number one, when this happened, how easy is it for something like this to happen? How much have you experienced accidental unredactions like this in any criminal case?
In the last 10 years, there's been a marked shift from paper filing with courts to e-filing or electronic filing. And the modern way to file things is to create them on your computer, create a PDF, and then electronically upload it without ever having a paper document to look over. In the old days, people used markers. They went through and they drew lines through what they didn't want to appear. Nowadays, the redaction techniques can be a little complicated. Sometimes people use shortcuts like a black-colored highlighter app on the system, and that doesn't conceal the text. So the challenge is making sure when something is redacted, it truly is redacted in the sense that the electronic document can't be broken into to find the data. It's a new problem because of our new technology.
All right, so let's talk about what we learned in it. It's almost as if Manafort's attorneys are admitting to certain things that Mueller has found. What did you take away from what you learned from inside these documents?
The purpose of this document was basically saying, look, the burden of proof for the government is so easy for them to show that Manafort breached the contract that we're not really going to fight it now, but we're going to try and dispute it later on in the sentencing process because the government gets to determine whether or not you breach the agreement. But as to the information that was in there, that develops one of the theories of liability, which is that Paul Manafort may have been selling access to the campaign and ultimately the presidency. One way of looking at it is at best, Paul Manafort was selling that access, possibly, and President Trump knew nothing about it. But at worst, what if Paul Manafort was selling that access and President Trump or candidate Trump had some awareness? Those are a few of the theories around the connection between Manafort to Russia and Manafort and Trump.
All right, I want to talk about the other news we learned today. First, we heard Rod Rosenstein is going to be leaving soon. Then Pete Williams was able to confirm, yes, that's true, but he's not leaving until the Mueller report is done. Okay. Mueller extended his grand jury another 6 months. But we're supposedly going to have this report in late February, early March. If you're in the middle of writing a report, why do you still need a grand jury?
The safest bet is that Mueller's investigation will extend beyond February. Even if Mueller himself plans to wrap up by February, long-term investigations like this, the largest white-collar investigation in our nation's history, is likely going to take longer than expected. The 6-month extension of the grand jury is one indicator of that. But another indicator is this. As witnesses turn, they increasingly give more and more information to investigators and create new tendrils of the investigation. And we've had witnesses continue to cooperate in the case of Michael Flynn, who stayed, or continued rather, his sentencing so that he could continue to cooperate. And that continued cooperation may yield more information. So while it's possible this could all wrap up by the end of February, I caution folks that with the largest white-collar investigation in our nation's history, it just might last a little longer.
Wait a minute. Bigger than Enron?
Bigger in the sense that talking to all these different folks and how it can explode in different directions. But you're right. Enron was very large. At the same time, this one just keeps sprouting new beanstalks wherever you look. So arguably, this is one of the biggest in our nation's history. Come on, you're ruining my analogy. I want to be able to lay claim to this being the biggest.
No, and that's what and I guess how would you define biggest? I mean, with Enron, it was financial. In this case, I guess it's the fact that it's foreign government.
Well, think about it this way. In your run-of-the-mill white-collar case, something that I might handle, the case can last a couple years with cooperation as the government decides, waits for things to develop, continues its investigation. That can take potentially years, and that's with one, maybe two cooperators. Here you have potentially a lot more cooperators. We've already seen many indictments. This is a very large white-collar investigation spanning both the breadth of this country and the entire globe.
All right, we were having this debate. Manafort actively sharing polling data during the time that he was running the Trump campaign with a Russian intelligence asset, according to Robert Mueller, in Konstantin Kilimnik. What is the most damning piece of evidence here on potential collusion? That or the infamous Trump Tower meeting in your mind?
The connection between Manafort and Kilimnik, because connection with Kilimnik is connection with the Russian government. The dots start connecting. Once you get to Manafort, the next dot to connect is who in the Trump circle knew about this and condoned it or even accepted the fruits of it.
Right.
That goes a long way to showing that magic quid pro quo that will hang that hook of liability, criminal liability, under federal law.
Danny Cevallos, as always, sir, I appreciate you coming on, sharing your expertise in this stuff. It's complicated. It's good to have you on. Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Meet the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.